It's glorious Smite time, everybody. Aren't you excited? We got a couple games for you tonight. I've got the last couple of casters for the So You Think You Can Cast coming at you, though. That'll be casting this first game. In case you missed it, I am King Scuba. I'm the official Discord mod. And I present to you So You Think You Can Cast, a competition where we bring a bunch of casters together in both Chair 1 and Chair 2, and they competed out to find out who exactly is the best caster. Tonight, first game, I've got Judas Priestley on chair 1 and Killjoy on chair 2. Before we start the game though, let's ask a couple questions to these guys. I like to interview my casters and introduce the crowd to them in case y'all don't know them. Judas, got a couple questions for you. How long have you been playing Smite, man?
Oh, good question. I've been playing Smite since 2013. The newest god when I started was Vulcan, the original Vulcan, when he was a nice old guardian. Took a bit of a break come 2016. Actually moved on to Overwatch because that game absorbed my life for a while. And then came back and start season 8. And I have been hooked ever since.
Right on. Killjoy, how about you? I know you've been here for a while.
I feel like I've been here for a long time, but every so often when people tell me about like old God releases, they're like, man, Guan Yu release was crazy, Vulcan release, and I'm like, man, I think Baron was the first God that I saw. I think I've only been here like 3 years, but even then, that's still a long time. So I've been doing that since 2018, I guess, and then casting since 2019.
So I've basically known you for 70% of your career. Got it.
Yeah, more.
Eh, Quick question. How long have you guys been casting for? How about when did you start, Judas?
I actually started only last year. I saw a Reddit post for a brand new EU league that was looking for some casters, and decided to sign myself up. And that was, I think, May time last year. And then I've casted as often as I could ever since. I've had such a great time with it. So sometimes I was finding myself casting 4 or 5 times a week, and yeah, it's something that is a different way to experience Smite, and yeah, I'm just having a great time with it.
Nice. How about you, Killjoy?
Like I said, around 2019, I think I started casting. I was helping out in the Volcania server when they existed, which they just recently came back around, which is pretty cool. I was helping leading casting over there. I got to hear one of the first Spooky Mars casts, so that was a treat. Been doing that ever since. Doing a lot of chair 1, picking up a little bit more chair 2 as I've gotten a little bit more in depth into the competitive scene.
Right on. So, quick question. Killjoy, you're NA, primarily casting. Judas, you're mainly EU, I'm assuming?
Yeah, that's right.
So this ought to be interesting. EU versus NA. EU is more methodical typically, where and they kind of slowly ramp up. Versus NA, we just want a W key. Yeah.
Oh,
What's your expectations going into this game compared to what's going on? What you're used to, Killjoy? Any expectations?
I mean, NA is getting in there, but the Volcania server that was casting, that was all EU based, so I'm used to seeing them slow games. I very much so am excited to watch the methodical smite. I love the objective shot calling that the EU smite brings more so than NA because, I mean, let's be real, EU has bigger brains than the NA most of the time. When it comes to competitive smite, and I know everyone's going to be mad, but like, look how we go. NA, we're just getting in there. Well, I'm holding W and I'm holding left click with this Nami, and I'm going to run it down. EU, it's a lot more. I'm picking my fights very meticulously.
I don't know how do you think? Do you agree with that or not, Judas?
I would say things have come a bit closer together in recent months. In particular, I found what you tend to find in NA is that the clearest way to see it is that junglers tend to respond to the other jungler. One jungler's ganking duo, the other one's going solo, or they're going mid. Whereas in EU, you tend to find if the jungler's spotted on a ward rotating to duo, the other jungler will also rotate to duo. It's a bit more of a almost like a rock paper scissors. Whereas in NA, you get this sort of opposites. Like I said, in EU, you try to match each other all the way, and you almost find that teams are trying to face up one on one, like in straight up fights. It's a bit more level, should I say?
So is it fair to say that the EU versus NA mentality for jungles then would be NA is looking to exploit weaknesses where the other jungler can't do anything, whereas EU is trying to counter what the other jungler is doing. That way they can continue on towards late game.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Actually, we've discussed in the past of the EU being more late game based, and the best way to get to late game is by not dying. You know, if everyone's still alive, you keep farming up. You bring your jungle over to protect your duo; they stay alive. Same with the mid. You know, you almost use the junglers in a different way. You can still be aggressive with it, of course. You know, that's not to say you don't get in there sometimes, but it tends to be even more opportunistic, I would say.
Right on. Interesting little tidbits there. So we're about to launch right into this game, but I do have one quick announcement. I will be drawing the winners because we had to kind of delay out one of the games last time, unfortunately. So this is a continuation from last week. About 1 hour after this first set is done, I'm going to be closing the polls. I'm going to be releasing a poll for you guys to answer a little quick survey on how you liked Judas and Killjoy doing their casting here. The winner gets a chance at a skin. I have a couple codes that I could give away. There's going to be 2 draws, and after the game, stick around. We'll do a little bit of a coaching session on what happened with Judas and Killjoy, things they did great, things they could improve on, and then we'll release the So You Think You Can Cast crew from Gloria for quite a while. With that being said, let's jump right into it.
All right, that sounds like we are pretty much good to go. So, if you guys are not aware, although it is in the title, so you should be paying attention. Today we have LWUB versus Hamburger in a quarter-final matchup. These guys finished their league season in fourth and fifth position, I believe. And you know, all right, fourth and fifth isn't particularly high finishings in terms of this league. In fact, however, having games that are two teams that are very, very close together, I think sometimes can be even more entertaining, Killjoy.
Oh, there's so much more entertaining because if you're closer in the standings, there's a higher chance for either A, an upset, so that fifth seed coming in taking out the fourth seed, or just a complete headbanger, 3 games, an hour long each, just slugfest, going at it one after the other, really trying to get in it. You can see right in front of you the bracket of how we're getting to where we are right now. You see the quarterfinals matchup, Hamburger Elwood that we're in. This is going to be a sick matchup, in my opinion, Judas. This is going to go all the way, I feel like.
Yeah, we might find that we get a big clash of big heads right now, and when you have these how do I say it, knockout tournaments that come their way after league seasons, it's always a different circumstance, right? When you face off in a league match, all right, they always have high stakes. It's always very, very important that you get the win, but at this point, you've found your league position, right? You found yourself locked where you are, but now is your chance to really spring something on your opponents. You only need to win 2 games, and you're ahead of them. But it's not always the easiest thing to do, as we do find ourselves getting into picks and bans. Now, of course, we've just had our mid-season patch, but I believe this game was played before mid-season patch, if I'm not mistaken. So, oh, it's not. Hold on, I've just been informed it was not played before mid-season patch, so we will have some new fancy items on board. So, Killjoy, I don't know if you've had too much experience with it lately, but how do you expect this to shake up the picks and bans?
That came in really affect the support role the most out of everything, especially with, of course, with the ban content, executioner glyphs not being able to be purchased currently. ADC's not going to change a whole lot. Mid lane, maybe a few picks might change. You might go a different itemization with Staff of Mirrodin getting a lot better, being switched over to power instead of cooldown after the ultimate. I really like that change. I think a lot of mid laners are going to like that change. But other than that, I mean, Bancross glyph's pretty good. I think that's pretty sweet. I think that might help bring, those magical ADCs back into the meta a little bit more. Maybe you'll see some more Oloron, see a little bit more Soul. But other than that, it's really, I'm looking at the supports. What are they going to be building? Are they going Magi's? Are they going to be getting earlier items? Are they different power spiking? Things like that is what I'm really looking for. But other than that, I feel like it's going to ride the same way.
Yeah, and I think you're right in that support has been the main pick that's been up in the air at the moment. You know, we've tended to find that a lot of the meta has really shifted, right? In the last couple of weeks, in particular, since the 9.5 patch, and we're seeing ADCs mid, warriors in the jungle, assassins in the solo lane. It's been a real mix-up, but support has stayed the same. But it's not been a situation where people are quite confident on what to pick in support. Like Khepri, as we see banned out in this game, has always been high priority. Khepri is always going to be very, very strong. But other than that, there's no clear second place. We've seen a lot of Geb lately, but then, you know, things like Baron Samdi was very popular at the start. We might see some more Nox coming back, but right now we're just seeing a couple of safe backliner picks, or, well, I couldn't really call Nemesis a backliner, but a high damage-based jungler coming out. But the Xing Chen being locked in as well, that's already one of our supports coming in.
Yeah, and you were talking about earlier, it's like after Khepri, kind of where do you go? My first thought is always Umoja. That's the next best pick, in my opinion, if you're looking at the support role. And then maybe like an Atlas somewhere in there. But again, if you don't have the Umoja player, it's a very high skill god. If you have a base Umoja player, cool. If you have someone that's really good on Umoja needs to be top picked, top banned every game. Chernobog, first pick overall. God's still really, really strong, really good. That global presence really helps along it. And you're right, picking up the support. This could also flex over to the soul lane. We've seen it quite a bit where that Xing Chen can go both ways. I believe the Leviathans played it today, actually. Xing Chen played both roles. Nemesis, I mean, I'm never upset with a top pick Nemesis either. The Chronos, though, that's where I'm confused. I'm not sure if Chronos is that good still. I mean, I talked about
I
the
was
magical
seeing
lady
one.
coming in, but I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, I guess one of these is going into each lane, unless it's an Ula jungle. I'm
Surely
not.
it's an Uller jungle. Surely
It's
it's an Uller
out of
jungle.
all of that, right? I think to be honest, so that top three pick from Hamburger there, very good into the Nemesis. I would say they all can get away from Nemesis quite well. Are not great targets for the ultimate, of course. It's hard to really lock down any of these gods. You know, Ula may be the most easily picked off there, just has the one leap away, especially if they miss the axe throw. But Chrono's very slippery with that rewind, and Chernobog can just get out of there. Or not even get out of there, right? Can just fly up in the sky and then land right back down. You know, there's a lot of lot of potential for plays with the Chernobog, but we're seeing Hamburg going for something a bit spicy, but LWUB's draft a lot more standard, Killjoy.
Oh yeah, very standard. Jingwei, super safe dual lane. You're not really sure which one of these hunters or magical ADCs that you're gonna catch. I mean, realistically, none of these could be the jungle as well. You could have Chernobog and ADC, Uller, Solo, Kronos in the mid, or move those around in any single one of those. I think all those gods are fine in every single one of those roles. I mean, we've seen, I think all of them played at some point in the solo lane, in ADC, in mid. So it's really hard if you're LWUB to figure out where these ones are going. So what you do if you're LWUB, keep sticking to your guns. Okay, we got our Nemesis. We know where that's going most likely. Xing Chen, know where that's going most likely. I'm going to say it's going to go solo. I feel like this is a very big solo pick right now. So I'm going to say Nemesis in the jungle, Xing Chen over into the solo lane. You got your ADC locked in. You're super set up. Now you can start looking at what does Hamburger need? They need frontliners. So start taking them out. Yamoja, talked about it earlier. Get that guy out of here. Kumba, another god that's really good at disruption. Get him out of here too.
I'm not too sure about the Yamoja ban personally. I think Yamoja, obviously, fantastic Guardian, as we've discussed. Very, very reliable pick if you have a player who can play it well. But it doesn't provide the right frontline support that I think you need with this Hamburger draft. Like, all right, if you get to late game, you know, Kronos just W key. Chernobog can position himself very, very intricately. You know, you can find these angles that you need. Ula can just burst people down. But Yamoja doesn't do a good job of really providing consistent peel. You know, you want something, let's just throw it out. Let's say you have an Ymir on your team. You can just frost breath anyone who gets close. This Nemesis dives someone, frozen, wall, anything. And I don't think Yamoja really provides that. Okay, you do have some potential, especially with the River's Rebuke, Riptide, but it's not that consistent. It's certainly unreliable, I would say. And unless, as we've discussed, you have a fantastic Yamoja player. But I think if you did, surely you'd pick it by now. But Athena coming in, I would have loved to see an Athena for Hamburger, actually.
Really was gonna say Fafner's gonna be really sick for this Hamburger comp if they want to go there, because I think you're right. Emoji doesn't have that great of appeal, but this comp that Hamburger is saying is we're not playing back, we're initiating. We got to get in there. These 3 comps, you want to shred objectives and you want to push the fight. If you're getting Dovan, you're going to be in a very bad spot, which is why it looks like they're locking into this Geb here. Your emergency backline peel. You get in, somebody gets in there, Cataclysm, stop them in their tracks, make sure your boys can get out, move around. But this team wants to dive, so I kind of would have liked to see that Fafnir. Get the chorus on as many people as you can. Start pushing your initiative. Just try to get in there and keep moving around the map. You want to look for picks. You want to get in there really, really hard. Whereas LWUB now, the Athena, the support role, or I mean, I guess, no, it's going to go support role. I was going to say, could go jungle, Nemesis, solo, Xing Chen support if you really want to mix it up. But I think you just put in the Athena taunt over there, taunt those backliners, peel the beads, let your Xing Chen get in there. Really good bead burn so far for LWUB.
I think I'm a big fan, actually, of the Athena in the solo lane too, which I have seen played in EU. Mainly because you can just rotate so well, and particularly with solo lane is picking up teleport. If Athena has teleport available, you can Defender of Olympus to duo lane, do whatever your business you got there, back to base, teleport back to solo. So it's not the worst pick there either. Either this Xing Chen or Athena could be going there. I think the Geb pick for Hamburger is more what I was talking about, right? That's more what I wanted to see. But I think I hadn't really considered Fafnir. I think you might be right there. Just going all in, right? Especially with this Erlang Shen. Now, Erlang Shen most likely going in the jungle. Such a strong jungler. I'd be surprised to put it elsewhere. And I think the Geb does do a good job of keep that defensive style I was talking about. Like if you just need someone to peel for your backline, Geb is a master of that. One of the best in the game, if not the best in the game. But I think going all in with the Fafnir, like you say, Erlang Shen would fit really well with that Fafnir. You just kind of go for it. But I think Hamburger maybe reeling themselves in a little bit. Maybe they were getting a bit too overconfident, and I maybe feel like now we should just back it up a little bit and see how the rest of the draft goes. But we do have a final pick for LWUB, and that's the Zhong Kui coming up. Very, very likely, almost certainly for the middle lane. But, this meta's kind of crazy, Killjoy.
Honestly, yeah, I mean, we could see the Zhong Kui in the solo lane. You ready? I'm putting Jingwei into mid, Nemesis into the duo lane with Xing Chen and Athena jungling. That's the really big play for LWUB here, and that would go absolutely crazy, but I highly doubt that's what it is. I'm expecting to see the Zhong Kui in the mid with one of those new Bancroft glyphs, going for the one that gives a little bit more AoE damage at one point. Not the Nimble Rod, what is it? Nimble Rod of Claw? Nimble Claw? I think it's Nimble Claw. Bancroft's Nimble Claw. That sounds about right. I don't want to see that on Zhong Kui. I want to see the other one. I want him getting in there, get a little bit extra tanky, build that wax staff, build a breastplate, and just get in there. Maybe a Witchblade even, too, for this Hamburger draft that is like full auto attack, which, I mean, I don't know why they didn't go Fafnir. This is such a perfect Fafnir comp as well, but I guess you just want to be super safe with that Geb, so understandable there. But this LWUB draft, this dive is really, really strong. Their peel's really, really strong. I love this draft.
Yeah, personally, I would give the draft win to LWUB, mainly because Xing Chen into 4 auto attack based gods, right? That Furious Roar is going to destroy any engagement. Now, all right, there is no way Xing Chen's hitting 4, right? That's just not going to happen. But if Ula jumps in, well, maybe not so much Ula, more ability based. But let's say Chernobog or Kronos, they get in the face of someone, Furious Roar on top of it. All of a sudden, that quick burst that they were hoping for is just not going to be there. All right, they still have kill potential. Kronos, if they hit late game, doesn't matter how much you reduce their damage by, they're going to be running you down. But the time to kill has increased in 9.5. It still would increase now with Xing Chen, very tanky. Athena, block stacks, and also very tanky. And Zhong Kui, also very tanky. But it looks like we are now getting into this game. So I'll give a quick rundown of who we got. Looks like we've got the Sexy Seagull on Ula in the solo lane. We got the Envenom on Erlang Shen in the jungle. Bilvi on Chernobog as the mid laner, with Aimstein 26 on the Geb support, and Hyper Beast Foxy picking up Kronos as the hunter. Meanwhile, for the Chaos side for LWUB, we have Zappy on Xing Chen in the solo lane. You called that one right. Lame Dezita picking up Nemesis in the jungle. Adu on the Zhong Kui in mid. Galadriel, Athena support, and Cordiaxes on Jingwei as the hunter. We've got to see how this one goes down. But out of these two teams, Killjoy, who would you say is looking to get that extra bit of pressure early on?
It's got to be Hamburger. They kind of have to hold the gas pedal almost the entire game, even though this, we were talking about EU draft, trying to be a little bit slower pace, trying to get late game. This team needs to win this game really, really quick. I mean, you already see it here. Envenom already trying to get aggressive in that early game, in that mid lane, and it's because he's got that mannequin scepter. He's got mannequins on this Erlang Shen's really good early pressure. If you look down the entire Hamburger drafts itemization, it's all early game items. Billy most likely going for an Ichaival here early in the mid lane. Hybrid Foxy going for that ring Hekate. I would have liked to see that bank cross because you really want to get that Nimble Rod here, about 3rd or 4th item. But until then, they just want to run it down, and they're going to try to scale as fast as they can.
Yeah, and you can't really blame them for that. I think in this duo lane, you see a Geb Kronos lane is absolutely sacrificing pressure, right? Even to Jingwei, who is not the best pressured style god. Geb is particularly bad support for pressure, and Kronos is just going to have a bit of a slow start. So I think that duo lane is going to be healthily in the way of LWUB, and Hamburger probably going to give that one up, which probably means that the Envenom will be spending a lot of time around mid and solo. Now, it's not a very gank, like, how do I say this? There is not a lot of gank potential for the Envenom. In the mid lane, Zhonghui, very tanky, can just unleash all those demons from his bag and just walk back to tower. Xingqian, the soul lane, could just leap back to the tower, and if it needs it, they got the Whirlwind Rage and Steel for some extra CC immunity. It's very tough to attack any lane right now. Jingwei Athena, even if they weren't like intentionally sacrificing this dual lane, it would still be a very, very tough dual lane to gank, no matter who you put there. So I think we're going to have to see just heavy farm game from him in Venom. And maybe a little bit of what I was talking about before, maybe in Venom, rather than looking to make plays from the jungle, we'll have to start responding to where Lane Dusita is traveling to. If that Nemesis pops up on either side of the map, just get over there, be that extra bit of defense, and maybe try to play this one nice and slowly.
Yeah, and Venom's really going to have to play around the other jungler. The only real gank potential is in that mid lane, just because Adu has Blink on this Zhong Kui, which I love it. I think Zhong Kui's best relics are Blink and Aegis. You blink, you press 4, press Aegis, and then just stand there. Like, no one can hit you, and you're doing a lot of damage. So I like having that Blink. I don't know if I would go Blink first, maybe Aegis first, but if he wants to get active early on and kind of counter what Hamburger wants to do, I think it's a great idea. But it looks like the aggression is really so far in this dual lane for LWUB, and I want to see Lame Dusita maybe make an early rotation.
Yeah, I think if Lame Dusita comes over, just helps to secure maybe an early kill, I think that would be very, very beneficial for LWUB. I think what you're talking about with this Zhonghui, Adu picking up the Blink first, screams confidence to me, right? They know they are not in trouble. Erlang Shen is not going to be able to kill this Zhonghui. So Zhonghui's feeling like they've got the pressure. So Adu may be telling his team, look, I got this lane. I'm going to be totally fine. Probably telling Lame Dusita, just farm up, get whatever opportunities you can, because this Zhonghui is not going to be falling down. A bit of a scrap of the Oracles. Looks like Bilby going to take one of those away, but 3-man rotation is not enough. Bilby now gets in a bit of trouble from Adu, but there's not going to be a lot of aggression here. Bilby just playing the god well there, knows that they can be very safe in that wall, despite the Confound coming out, not going to connect with you. Zappy, low health, gets pinned down, goes for the knock-up, it will not be enough. That hook slam doesn't really provide a lot of appeal for yourself, and Venom on this slower pace teams we've been discussing, already picking up first blood.
Love that. Love that early rotation over here and get that pick in the soul lane. I mean, you said 3-man rotation. You could have called it a 4-man with Adu coming in late, just a little bit longer. And now Lame's trying to play off for this right side. But you got some ultimates online. Everyone's starting to hit 5 and 6. Lame just needs to take way too much damage. Going to have to give up this blue buff invade, which is really good for Hamburger. You're getting Sexy Seagull, his blue buff, keeping his mana sustain up in that soul lane with this Uller, letting Envenom get a little bit extra farm and start pushing a lead that he's going to start slowly accruing, especially with that first blood kill.
Yeah, noticeable that Sexy Seagull has gone for the Purification Beads first, rather than the standard teleport glyph. As is completely understandable, you're up against a Xingqian, Ula, no built-in CC immunity, so it's definitely a very responsible pickup. You know, there's no overconfidence here. They're playing that one safe. Very early Earth Shield coming up from Aimstein, smacks Adu in the face, says, leave my mid laner alone. Adu not wanting to do it. Adu just being a bit of a pest, because Bilby's out of mana, you know, and that's awesome. Chernobog gets a little bit reliant on mana, especially if you want to escape. There's the Dash Confound coming out. Bit of damage coming through, but not going to be too much, as Aimstein still on scene to keep everything safe. Just keep everything in check. Aimstein just playing the role of bodyguard today, right? Just going to be sitting around nearby, making sure nothing too bad goes away. Whirlwind Rage and Steel comes on the Sexy Seagull, but not going to be too much. But there's the Defender of Olympus coming out. Hook slam into it. There's the combination of damage. There's the Confound coming out. Sexy Seagull, low health, gets leapt on once. Can't find the last hit. Yes, they can. And Galadriel will pick up that first kill for LWUB. They committed a lot. They took a lot of time, but they get what they were looking for.
I got sketchy there for a second, Judas, but I mean, it's hard not to just dive that tower when you're two guardians. You know, you got Defender of Olympus, you can get a little extra protection. Just get in there. Zappy's on Zingshen, fine. Just get under that tower. You can get the kill. It's an ADC. It's not a normal warrior or guardian over there that's gonna have those extra magical and defensive or physical protections that a stronger character would have, such as those warriors and guardians. So you just get in there, just get the kill, get out, you know, take a little bit of extra damage. It's fine. Nobody was really close at all. They probably had communication from the rest of the team. Hey, junglers aren't over here. You guys can get in there and just get the kill. And that's going to really help Zappy in this lane because Ur is such a pressure god in that solo lane, just having all the ranged poke. You can keep damaging everybody. So being able to just ruin that for a few seconds is really good for LWUB.
You know, pulling it all the way back. I think that might have all been possible. Hold on, there's a bit of a scrap going on here. Aimstein in a bit of trouble as looking for the Gold Fury are Elwa, but there's coming in is Bilby on the rotation, swooping down from that ultimate. There is dashing away with that airstrike is Cordiax is still giving chase to his Aimstein, trying to find something, but there's not a lot of backup from the team. There's another bit of a scrap going on by the Gold Fury pit as well as the Envenom getting in there as we've been talking about, but hold on, out come the demons from Adu, and falling down first is Aimstein 26, but not much more going to be there, so it turns out LWUB going for the chase, end up getting what they wanted despite it not looking good for a moment. They do pick up that support kill.
That burst was he came in and pressed 4 and evaporated Aimstein. I'm like, yeah, it's a Geb. He'll be no, he was not fine. Not fine at all. He got eviscerated off the map. And I was like, okay, cool. Zong's here. Time to run. Like, everyone else just needs to get out. And that scrap was so weird there for a second. Just positioning of where LWUB was. They were all like in the purple buff, almost coming towards the Gold Fury once more, like we saw earlier on. And then all of a sudden, boom, Chernobog comes in. Now this is a really awkward fight. You can see where everybody's at. You know where everyone's coming in at. And they were able just to wait. They're like, okay, cool. This is not where we want to be. And then Hamburger chases a little too far. And LWUB's like, hey, they're still coming. Adu's like, all right, cool. I got Zonkui. I got Bancroft online. Let's get in there.
So, very noticeable pickup that I've spotted out here. AMC going for the Spirit Robe, first item on Geb. Now, surely you would be expected as Geb to be a bit of a focus early on. Galadriel on this Athena. Athena very well known for being amazing against tanks. And if there's only one tank on the team, you just taunt the Geb. Obviously can't Earthshield themselves. Bit of a scrap going on in the middle lane. And yeah, you know, if Aimstein does get focused out, they need to be aware of that. There's a Cataclysm onto Ado in response, though. Tipping the scales is I'm Dasuda coming in. There's a big scrap going on this middle up into the Living Nightmare. Goes one of them. Oh god, this is just back and forth everywhere. Nice confound there, but everyone's still alive for just a moment. No, Adu falls down. Aimstein super low health. Bilby is on scene, but doesn't have a lot of mana to work with. And Venom there on that rotation. Don't even see where they came in from. Having a big impact. But there we go. Blinking forward is Nemesis trying to find something. Has to dash away though. Can't quite find it. The confound coming out onto Envenom takes a chunk of damage from that tower, but will live. And that ends up just being one pick onto the Zhongqi for Hamburger.
Jingwei's here though. She wants to keep going and get a little bit more aggressive on Aimstein. Should be okay with that rollout. We'll be able to get out of dodge. That scrap was another one where it's getting close for each team. They are in there and they are scrapping, as you put it. It gets so close. Everyone gets so low. And a lot of the time when everyone gets low like that, it's because you're not correct on your shot calling, right? It's I'm hitting one person, you're hitting somebody else, and then our other person that's also with us is hitting somebody completely different. And so that's why everyone gets so low. If you all focus on one target, they should end up falling. And Venom, though, having that mannequins, he's able to get in there. He's got the gold blaze, got the stone cutting. He was able to put out so much damage right there. Now it looks like Aimstein trying to maybe find Gadriel, who would stay just a little too long. He'll be fine for the moment. But again, it's just get on the right targets, all on one person. You should be able to do it. If Nina hits a taunt on somebody, burn your damage onto that guy, take him down, move on to the next one. It's better when you have numbers 3 versus 2, 2 versus 1. I mean, 1 versus 0, obviously. You've pretty much won then.
It's was a very tight scrap. You know, it was a fight that could have gone either way very quickly. But you could tell that LWUB didn't want to give it up. They know that this is the phase where they're going to be stronger just by default over Hamburger, so they're trying to find an opportunity. But Adu steps a little too far forward. A nice angle coming in from the Venom. Has had a lot of time in this Erlang Shan to farm up. Stone cutting and Golden Blade with the Mannequin Scepter. That's a lot of damage and a lot of attack speed coming out already from this Erlang Shen. So they're going to be hitting quite hard, despite being a god that is auto attack based, which tends to be a bit more late game. Hold on, Sexy Seagull may not be aware of how much trouble they're in. And Venom, though, getting focused out there. Zabby missing with that Whirlwind of Region Stealer. But Galadriel caught in the middle of 4. Doesn't matter. Gets the Cataclysm onto 4 as well. They're coming down. There's Bilby. It finds Zappy really low health. But there's Adu putting in some damage. Defender of Olympus combined with those spirits being released, but they can't find enough damage. The heal coming out from the Inventor from that 9 turns blessing. Adu still trying to find something. They just can't close down any of these kills. Aimstein low health does get killed off, but traded out by Bilby there. And now this Chernobog hides away. We'll feel safe. Whoa, we'll feel confident enough to dash forward. Looking at this blue buff to steal something that's not quite over yet. Adu trying to get some revenge. And hold on, Bilby may have overstepped the mark. And yes, they have, as Galadriel picks up that kill. Sexy Seagull still trying to trade out blows with the enemy mid lane. It does do a lot of damage on this Ula. There's still 3 enemies around. Lots of minions going in their solo lane tower. And at the end of all that, it's just a 2-for-1 trade. But Venom back on scene. Sexy Seagull steps too far forward. Burns the Purification Beast, but Venom finds a pick onto Adu. Seagull falls down to Zappy on the other side. There's the hook slam onto Venom, just trying to get out of this fight at the moment. But Galadriel so low health. This Athena needs a bit of support from the solo laner. And then Zappy gonna try to do something. And Venom gonna take a bit of damage from that Furious Roar. There's the pin coming out, Confound to stop it. But Galadriel so low. There's the knockup coming out from Aimsteam. And Aimsteam picks up that kill. Nearby is I Am Dusita. And it's just about to peter away. But that was a very extended engagement there. And it ends up as a 3-for-2 in favor of LWUB.
You told me we're casting EU Smite today, right? Like that's what we're doing? This is EU Smite? Because this just reminds me of when NA teams just play Arena on the Conquest map. We're just fighting to fight at this point. There was, what, the Geb reset his entire health bar? I think he died in the beginning of that, came all the way back, or at least was really low, was TKO'd, had to back, comes back in full health, and is able to pick up Galadriel, who had stayed just way too long, and we're just up there fighting for another kill. These teams need to clean this up, because plays like that can really catch you out. You could get stuck and all of a sudden lose 4 people on the blue buff and lose your right Phoenix if you all fall down. And especially with how LWUB's playing, they are grouping hard. Cordaxia rotated in that mid fight twice so far. They had Zappy coming in from the light range to that mid lane. They're playing as almost 5, feels like 6 people sometimes of how they're playing this fight and how often they're returning back to these mid lanes. And Hamburger's just too far forward all the time.
Sexy Seagull taking a very strange angle, leaps right into a Whirlwind Rage and Steel. No follow-up just yet, but there's the slice and dice coming out from Lame Dusita. Now, maybe overstepping the mark is Hamburger a bit, and Venom getting aggressive, pushing forward. There's the Defender of Olympus to keep Adu safe, but here's Cordiax is on scene as Aimstein low health. The Geb falls down yet again, and now that's a 2-0 trade for LWUB. Very nice and clean. As we were talking about, you need to tidy these things up, because I think a scrappy game favors Hamburger, but right now, Gold Fury started up by LWUB, and this is what they needed to do, Killjoy.
Looking so much better so far. Just that, as soon as you go up there, they're like, okay, wait, we fought way too long up there. We can't be doing that again. They decided to come back around. LWUB gonna actually confirm this. The Pyromancer gonna steal that. They get the Gold Fury as well. Leodusta's gonna pick up one here on top of Envenom and gonna be able to get out with his life. But did he leave his support alone? Nope. Athena's got dash. She'll be out just fine as well.
Oh, that's really clean from LWUB there. They recognize Hamburger. Okay, Gold Fury gone. Let's take what we can. And then LWUB, counterpoint on that, just go right for Adu. It's getting crazy right now. I love that play, but it's just not going to work. That Chernobog could sit in that hole for a very long time. But yeah, that Pyromancer is meant to be free, right? It's meant to be, they get gold, we get Pyro. But no, LWUB steal it away, get the kill, and get out 2v3. That is got to be demoralizing for Hamburg. You know, it's not too much of a gold swing as it goes. It's only a bit over 1,000 gold. But oh man, just emotionally, look at that swing. That is one of the biggest swings I have ever seen, especially because the Gold Fury Pyro went about the same time. That is like the Mount Everest of gold swings right there. That is not good to see if you're Hamburger. But you know, with Hamburg's composition, they probably would have been expected to be further behind at this point, Killjoy.
I would say it's on the flip side. I expect this team a little bit farther ahead. You want to play with this Erlang Shen through these 2 ADCs. If you have this Chronos, you want to get them to the late game. Maybe you leave Dual Lane on the island. 2-man Cataclysm should be able to get Aimsteam out of here in the mid lane. But as I was saying, I expect Hamburger to be pushing the lead. They had really good early. They were keep going. One bad team fight, boom, all of a sudden you use the Gold Fury. Then you get the Pyromancer stolen away too, and that's when the Gold Swing swings right down to LWUB. And that's a team comp that the later this game goes on, the better LWUB's team is going to get. They are got the damage. They have this CC to shut down this triple ADC comp of Hamburger, and it's going to be so strong for them.
Steen getting in a bit of trouble again. They're clearly focusing down this gap. There's a Woven Region steal right into the rest of the team, and there's Bilby lurking away, and that Living Nightmare just has to get out of dodge. We'll go all the way over to the left-hand lane. Sexy Seagull in a bit of trouble. Will leap over the wall, but still giving chase are LWUB. They're lurking around this tier 1 tower. There's not a lot else going on, but in the left-hand side, it looks like being 1v2'd is Cordiaxis, and they're having a great time with it. Hyperbeast Foxy and Bilby both struggling to cope with this Jing Wei, and that's a big moral victory right there too. And I think LWUB got to be feeling really good right now. But in Venom on scene, there's the blink, there's the pin. Purification Beads comes out, leaping away is Cordiaxis. Nice confound coming through. Galadriel going to be in a bit of trouble, but they should be just fine because in Venom and Hyperbeast Foxy don't have enough damage. And Cordiaxis says, "Thank you, Galadriel," and we'll back out to base.
Yeah, that got scary there for a moment. Really good pin out of Venom. And now they're still going back underneath this tower. They don't want to get up. LWUB's got to be careful. This is what we're talking. This could be it. But there's a blink in now from Adu, and he's going to get the rewind out of Hyperbeast Foxy, who wants to go back in.
It's a nice stun, but Adu's still in a bit of trouble. He's used pretty much everything. Nice Cataclysm coming in from Einstein, but there's a Purification Beats from Einstein, and no follow-up. No follow-up coming out from Hamburger. They're just not healthy and don't have the mana to sustain this fight. It was a pretty decent engage from Einstein, honestly. The best one they've managed to find so far. It's just not going to pay off. But I'm on scene. Cordiaxis is back for the fight, dashing in this time. Hypebeast Foxy has to use the Aegis Amulet, and they're just relentless, RLWUB. They're not giving Hamburger any room to breathe right now.
And that's what you got to do if you're LWUB too. You don't want this comp to get footing for Hamburger. If they find their footing, they're going to be able to start moving things together. And Venom had a really good start. He's slowed down a little bit. Sexy Seagull's been kind of mute out of that solo lane so far. Haven't really found a chance now. Aim's team trying to steal away that perp. Or he can confirm his own, but he doesn't get it, and he's going to go down. Just going to go ahead and find him with that ultimate, getting Defender Olympus afterwards as well. They were making sure this dual lane died and made sure Cordaxio keeps getting farmed and starts scaling a little bit faster than this Chronos does.
Hamburger just need to slow this down right now. They're dropping kills left, right, and center. They're just bleeding away. And sometimes you can find this happens, right? You lose a big team fight, you drop a kill here and there, and you just don't want to be giving up too much. Now, they have actually brought the goal difference back quite significantly, considering they haven't really want to fight. With all things considered, that's not too bad of a spot to find yourselves in. But again, that's exactly what I'm talking about, getting killed off there. All right, it's a 2v1, but you still can't be falling. In Venom, though, nice 9 turns, blessing onto 2. Galadriel on scene, low health, has to dash away. Bilby with that Living Nightmare is in the fight as well, but now Cordiaxis does a bit of peeling for Galadriel, and again, they try to take a fight in this left-hand lane, dude Hamburger, but it's just not working out for them right now. And I'm starting to worry for Bilby, making all these rotations. You're really going to start to fall behind your enemy mid lane. They're equal in levels right now, so maybe it's not hurting them too badly, but you know, that's a cooldown you don't have. That's a very reliable escape just not available to you, and it's not really been paying off for them so far.
Yeah, it really hasn't. I'm ganking dual lane is also a little scary right now, but that Jingwei is level 18. She's swinging real hard now. She's 3-0-1. I'm pretty sure she probably could have taken both of them by herself. Even if she was there, she has beads, has Aegis. She's fine. Cordaxia probably wins that most of the time. They're on the Gold Fury right now as well, and I think LWUB's just in such a good spot to just zone everybody else out with damage. Just leave 2 of them on there and run at everybody else.
Snappy just got crit for 54 damage. That's really not enough. Gold Fury goes the way of LWUB, but now the fight is going on. Cataclysm already down. It's a nice double stun coming out from Hypebeast Foxy, but unleashing the demons is Adu. Running forward, Sexy Seagull, low health, has to back away. Bilby being targeted out, going to take a lot of damage. Aegis Amulet gone down. Snappy in front of the enemy, cutting off their retreat. There's one kill going one way to the side of LWUB, but low health is Adu. Aim Steam will fall down yet again. Nice 9 turns, blessing though, and Sexy Seagull will pick up a kill in response. It's getting tight for LWUB, but they've already got the Gold Fury. They don't need to get much more than this. They get the Gold Fury and 2 picks for just 1 kill, but Galadriel's not happy with that. Dashes forward with a confirmed. Bilby's so low, but does get out. Cordiaxis can't get into the airstrike in time, overstepping the mark. RL, but teleporting in is zapping back on scene. Gets the hook slam onto Sexy Seagull. Now the dash forward from Galadriel. Nice stun there though from Sexy Seagull. Has to save their teammate, but Sexy Seagull's still alive. They're just about getting away with this. And Hamburger, despite maybe losing the fight overall, could have gone so much worse for them. And LWUB trying to reach for these extra bits of kills, and they're just not quite finding them. Still overall a good result for LWUB, but that was getting sketchy.
It got really sketchy really fast, Judas. And you're right. They're just not finding these kills by just a little bit. And honestly, they don't need to find these kills. You got the Gold Fury. You don't
Yep.
need anything else at that point. You just got another gold spike. Sure, if you find a pick right around it, fine, understandable. Get that extra pick, but get out. Take it over to Fire Giant. If you're winning these fights like this and they're not even getting close to that Gold Fury, go to the Fire Giant and do the same thing. Now, if you're losing people, that's giving Hamburger a chance to get back into this game. Find some more farm on the map. Oh, we knocked down another 2 people. They're bringing another teleport in there, taking out another relic from LWUB's team. Cool. Let's just say, all right, fine. See you guys later. We're going to go farm the rest of the map and just start pushing some towers down. They have 3 DCs. Bilby on a Chernobog, really good at split pushing. They have 5 of the 6 towers still standing. Hamburger does against LWUB. Just go start knocking these down, especially if LWUB wants to take this Fire Giant with you have Chernobog. Just go over there and do it. Knock them down and then rotate back in.
Well, Hamburger, despite being a little bit down in the kills and certainly a bit of the experience, still putting up a bit of a fight. There was a lot of damage coming onto Adu from the Sexy Seagull just then, and they just took a Pyromancer with absolutely no contention from LWUB. They walk up, take it with all of the auto attackers they got, right? That's what this team composition can do. We discussed the Fafnir, maybe. It would have been even faster with that. Bilby not quite getting caught out there, and you know, LWUB have had the better of these team fights overall, but there's going to be a time where some of these gods on Hamburger side are going to start hitting their power specs. You know, Hypebeast Foxy and this Kronos haven't really seen it. We've mentioned Sexy Seagull being quiet for a while on this Ula, but at some point they're going to start hitting very, very hard. Galadriel only gets the confound onto 1, and we'll have to back away. It's looking a bit of a Fire Giant dance. It's maybe a little bit early for that. We don't tend to be seeing it so early right now, but there's a scrap going on. Nice Cataclysm onto 3, but it's not going to be too much follow-up from it, and that's a big cooldown off the board as Aimstein rolling out away, though. And now, here comes the rest of LWUB on scene to try to put some pressure on this Fire Giant, but they're going to try to take the mid-tier 1 instead. Hypebeast Foxy has to burn the Aegis Amulet, very low health, getting chased down by Amdisuta, but there is the Nine Turns Blessing to peel, but there's Zappy finding an angle, and Peck gets the pick onto the Kronos, but hold on, Aimstein in a lot more trouble again, as there is the Woven Rage and Steel, and Adu picks up that kill, now getting toted forward. Sexy Seagull has the Aegis Amulet, but no beads. Can they leap away? Just about can, and Venom trying to find an angle on something, burns the Purification Beads again, but Adu gets a nice card onto 2. Nice Purification Beads, and Sexy Seagull will fall down, can't walk away from this Zhonghui. This Zhonghui just gonna be running havoc through this enemy team. There's just not enough peel coming out from Hamburger right now. They used all of their the holy eggs were in the basket of Geb, and Geb's just getting picked off. Aimstein can't survive, and there's not really any fault of Aimstein. If you just get focused out like that, there is no one to save you. And LWUB take another clean fight and 2 towers for their troubles.
And that all starts with that Cataclysm from Aimstein. It was sweet, man. It had 3 people in it. But LWUB were like, okay, cool, that's burned it. Now we back off, and they can't get any extra damage on us. We're able to walk away. Adu, though, in a really bad spot. And this is somebody I haven't really talked about too much, and I want to talk a little bit more. But he's going to end up falling here. He stayed by the red buff a little too long. The rest of his team, though, is on the Fire Giant.
Respond to this in time, though. I'm not sure they're aware of it. The chase is now coming over. It's just going to be Aimstein on scene. This Fire Giant is already going to go down, and they do lose a big player in Adu on this Zhonghui, but you know they've got the gold. They've got the Fire Giant now. That's a lot of gold. That's a lot of damage coming out, and Aimstein just needs to get out. There's no way they can take this fight at the moment because getting very aggressive in the enemy jungle is the Venom trying to take away whatever they can. Need to be careful they don't get spotted out though, because the team seems to be rotating towards them, but. Killjoy, I just got to throw it to you. What do Hamburger do in this situation to dig themselves out? Because it's not looking good right now.
Gotta split up the map. I talked a little bit about it earlier. Bilby on this Chernobog should really just be split pushing towers down. It looks like they're going to lose somebody else here now at this point. You're gone in Venom. That Nine Turns Blessing isn't going to save you from 2 Jingwei buffed autos. You're falling down. They got to get out of this purple buff area. Losing Adu really hurts them a little bit because I think Adu's been playing this game so well. Sure, he has beads, and we talked earlier, I said Aegis is probably his best relic. He used those beads really well against that Axe Toss from that last team fight, but he's just doing so much damage. He's 2, 4, and 10. 2, 4, and 10, Judas. This man is playing the support role with damage at this point. He's getting in there, pushing all of his buttons, and trying to help. But now the Phoenix is what's under duress.
Aimstein gets hit with the confirmed again. Is a bit more tanky this time, but you can't avoid the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel as well. But Aimstein going to get out with a lot committed there. Iron Deceiver very, very low. Has to be very careful as the chase is now on. Aimstein rolls forward, gets a Cataclysm onto 2. Cordiax is just about going to get out there, but Galadriel now gets stunned out with that time stop. It's going to be in a lot of trouble. Can they find the damage onto this tank? It's very, very close. Leaping over the wall is Sexy Seagull right into that persistent gust, but Cordiax is in trouble from Bilby now, but that Jingwei still does a lot of damage. You need to be careful there. Bilby does end up with a consolation prize. Says, yeah, I meant that. That's who I wanted. Sexy Seagull with a volley over the wall. Does find it. Can they find the last shot with that bladed arrow? No, they can't. And I think Cordiax says, no, never mind. Axe round the tower. Gonna nail that shot. Cordiaxis falls down, but Adu gonna clean up Sexy Seagull. Gold Fury maybe being considered by Hamburger. That's the fight they needed to take, and that is Fire Giant off of a few key members right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, shout out to the Fire Giant for not being useful very much at all. Zappy gonna fall now down to Envenom. Really good play from Hamburger. They took a fight when LWUB wasn't fully grouped. That was 4 different people in 4 different spots. Now Envenom under duress from Lazuda. He's very, very low. Gets the turtle form to get himself a little bit of extra shield. Might be out. Doesn't have his blink available, but neither does Landucida. Should be okay. Gonna play a little ring around the rosy here. Might be able to find his way out towards mid. Nope, that Slice and Dice should end it. This should end it.
They have the turtle form again, though. Cooldown's coming up really soon. There's one dash. Missed the second
dash!
turtle form again. Gonna get under the tier 2. Does Iron Deceiver have anything? No, they don't. They don't find it in Venom with the skatey shoes on. And just to get out of dodge with that one. Then this last 5 minutes been fantastic for Hamburger, but they need another fight like that. That's the position they're in. Despite the good fight, it's just not going to be enough to really swing them. Now, they got Fire Giant off of everyone except IMDC, I believe. But it's still a losing battle. They still need to find another clean fight when it's a 5v5. They found good opportunities, and they picked them off one by one, but now we're going to be going over to another Fire Giant dance. They just need to find a better engagement. This Pyromancer will go for free to IMDC, and well, it's time to dance off, I guess.
Dance off or start splitting up the map. I mean, I can't say it enough. Bilby is just such a good opportunity to slow this down. Hamburger wins that fight because they were 5-on-4 there. And we talked about numbers earlier. 3v2 wins, 2v1 wins, 1v0, you've won the fight at that point, right? So if you're Hamburger and you're like, hey, we just took a 5-on-4 on this Phoenix because Adu was in their blue buff for LWUB. He was all the way back on their blue buff. So it's like, okay, cool. Let's take another fight like that. So bait them into one of those fights. Send your Chernobog off to another lane. Go let him knock some towers down. Start getting some of this gold back. You know, you're down 6k, almost 7k at this point. Find a way to bring that back in. Those towers, they'll start adding up some gold. You'll bring the gold back in. But if you can start running away and all of a sudden bait, and they're like, oh, hey, look, we have a 4-on-4 here. We like 4-on-4s because we generally win them. All of a sudden, Chernobog ult comes in. It's a 5-on-4. LWUB might be losing that fight, especially if somebody's going off to the other side of the map and just be like, yeah, we're fine. It's a 4-on-4.
Depends on if they can send Galadriel, though, because the Athena is a bit of the counterpunch to that. But I think you would take Chernobog versus Athena. You'd be more than happy to be the Chernobog in that situation. I do see it needs to be careful they don't get caught out here. Aimstein gets focused down by that Confound. That's a nice Cataclysm coming out. A lot of damage coming on to Iodicina. They're already knocked out of this fight. So is the Jingwei having to use that airstrike to get out there. Galadriel, though, in a bit of trouble. On scene is Aimstein getting a bit of revenge for tanks. There's a nice knock up. There's a kill, and Sexy Seagull will pick up that one. There's a Trebuchet being pushed in this right-hand lane, but it's going to be for nothing because Hypebeast Foxy on this Chronos will burn that down relatively quickly. Now, Hamburger find themselves with a bit of a foot in the door here. Fire Giants on scene. Are they looking to burn it right away? No way. Looks like Aimstein is tanking it up, and Venom and Sexy Seagull both zoning away. There's not a lot of major steal potential on the side of LWUB, so it's going to be close. But there's Adu blinking forward. A lot of damage onto Sexy Seagull. They have to give up this Fire Giant, but they're already going down. Is the Sexy Seagull, but in response, Zabby falls down too, but there's back and forth kills. Bilby has to get out of there. Aimstein will die for it, but Bilby falls down too. Giving chase now our LWUB, and Hypebeast Foxy needs to stay alive here. You don't want to be giving up too much. If Hypebeast Foxy falls down here, this could be the end of the game, but that's a nice rewind. Going to set themselves right in the Fire Giant pit. It should prevent LWUB from being able to start it up. They're going to have a think about it, though, you know. And Hyperbeast Fox have been spotted, possibly. This is a dangerous spot for the Chronos to be in. I think they're considering it with the Defender of Olympus. They're going to go for it. So Fire Giant started up, is now an enhanced Fire Giant as well. Very, very relevant here. Half health already, but Hyperbeast Foxy is going to give this one up and look to just take the tier 2 tower instead. And it might not be safe to do that, though. Coming in for the collapse, I think this is a bit of a bad call. They're going to lose their life for this for sure. And then it's going to be a 4v5 for this enhanced Fire Giant push. Don't even get the tier 2 tower, and now Hamburger in some real trouble.
You get the tower, cool, not that rough. He was hanging around for so long, though, right near that Trebuchet Cup, just hanging out, being like, do I go for this? Do I go for the tower? Do I go for this? Do I go for the tower? If he decides a little bit sooner and goes to push that wave, I think he might get that tower and maybe potentially get out with his life, especially because they were burning so much to go ahead and get that Fire Giant. But now they have it on 4 people, LWUB does, and this is an enhanced Fire Giant. So these towers, this last one at least, don't worry about it. Leave it. It's gone. Just defend your Phoenixes and put up a good defense. Defense is okay for a Hamburger. I mean, you have Cataclysm and 9 turns Blessing. I guess it may be a rewind for Hyper, but outside of that, doesn't have the best defense. He's much more better for the poke of an engage. His wave clear's pretty good as well. Same for Bilby, but you're burning most of your combo on that. Whereas LWUB, this engage is gonna be sick. You got Bling Zhonghui, you have Bling Xingchen, you have Athena who's got Shell and Horrifics. It's gonna be real tough for this defense of Hamburger.
Let's see where LWUB decide to make their play. Looks like it's going to be the left-hand Phoenix. No minion wave for quite some time if they look to wait it out. But they can take their time. They have a decent lead. And Hamburger have clearly struggled now. Split putting left and right Phoenix, actually. But Hamburger making a good play of sending the Chernobog there. But hold on, here's the engage. Adu goes in, releases all those demons. And out of the fight is Hyperbeast Foxy. Left side Phoenix, very, very low health. But Venom trying to stall it. And looks like that Phoenix is still just alive. Will fall down eventually. There's a Cataclysm onto Adu. Adu low health, will fall down in response, but Zappy getting forward. They do lose one Phoenix. They defend the right-hand Phoenix, though, so that's somewhat of a one fight. Low health are some of the members of LWUB, but it's getting tight across the board. Still can push forward here. It is a 4v4, but that one of those 4s has that enhanced Fire Giant buff. Aimstein dashing all the way forward. Cordiaxis with a nice knock-up. Not going to keep them too safe, though. Now Galadriel seems to be the target. Nice triple taunt coming through. Zappy trying to head back to base. Sexy Seagull, low health. Surely has to back away from this. Bilby going to take a lot of shots from Cordiaxis, who gets a volley over the wall for their troubles. Now, Cordiax is super low health, but Idacita will get in. Bilby used the Aegis Amulet. Idacita low health does find the one pick. Inverted with a double pin, though. Gets the shot at the 2 of them. Gets a double kill. The Jungle Fire Hamburger really swinging back here, though, but back on scene is Zappy diving in. Teleports back to the fight. Sexy Seagull low health will fall down to that shield wall from Galadriel. Now, it's just Aimstein left alive. Will find the rollout to get out of there. Looks like the Envenom will live and will back to base. They still only lose the 1 Phoenix. They do get 3 enhanced Fire Giants down. It's not done and dusted yet, but LWUB, they're finding somewhat of a fight. But it looks like they're going to try to continue this engagement. It's a bit of a risky one, as Zappy takes a lot of damage from the Envenom. Envenom going to give chase, of course, on this Erlang Shen. Not afraid of these 2 Guardians, but will have to give that one up, as they're just a bit too slippery. But what a fight there.
Loved the start of that, right? We talked about the engagement. They had the split up 4v1. I said it a little bit. I love the split up. Send your Nemesis over there. Start chunking down the other Phoenix. I sent the Chernobog. Pretty good way to fight that for Hamburger. You stop the split push with your god that can get back over to the other side of the fight really, really quickly. Engage for Ella. Blinks in, jumps in there. Everyone's in there doing a really good job. As soon as the disengage starts happening, that's when everything starts to fall apart for both teams. Hyperbeast Foxy, he died with Rewind up. Can't be doing that. You got to burn your relics and then pop for and get back out of here. Try to live as long as you can, especially when you have like basically a second life in that. And then on that disengage, everyone trying to run away, and then the chase was just a little too far for Hamburger because you have an Athena and a Jingwei. Athena's going to pull like 3 people in, and those explosive bullets are going to just spread out all the damage. Everyone's takes so much. You can see it almost went down, and then they rechased back in from LWUB, which was mind-boggling to me because at that point you have no health bars, and Cordiaxis falls for it because Envenom hits a sweet double pin, gets in there and takes both of them down between him and Lame Ducita. They go down, and at that point it's like, okay, well, this fight's over. And then they stayed up there to try to take that Phoenix again between Xingchen and Athena. Easy. Dude, just leave, man. Like, it's over at that point. You got the Phoenix. You got what you wanted initially. Go reset. Get ready for this next Fire Giant that's coming up here in about 30 seconds. You just set play for the end game, right? Go play for this Fire Giant. Clean it up. Take the Fire Giant. Walk down the other Phoenix. push the game and end it cleanly. Don't take any unnecessary fights. Just do what you need to do to win this game out.
Oh, Hyper Beast Foxy on this Chronos. 0, 5, and 2 has not had the impact that they're looking for from Chronos, clearly, but maybe we can see one big last hurrah. Galadriel already dashing forward in. Gets 2, but does get that one cleansed away. There's the Whirlwind Rage and Steel. Nice Cataclysm for Peel, though. AFC just needs to see if they can get back out, and that's a lot burned for LWUB right there. That's a good deflection coming out from Hamburger. Now they look to re-engage with Venom. Aimstein still rolling forward, doesn't have the Cataclysm. Adu may be caught off a little bit, though. Does release all those demons. Look at the health bar burning all the way back up. Behind Beast Foxy in this Chronos, still swinging back in response. Bilby finds a nice angle to get some shots into. Hype Beast Foxy with that rewind. Idacina and Venom having a big scrap on the left-hand side of the map, too. It's all back and forth, but Sexy Seagull falls down. The duo on the left side of the jungle does go away. I'll blame Lucina now, giving chase is Cordiaxis. Gilvy, super duper low health, does dodge 2 shots, dodge a 3rd, dodge a 4th, can't dodge the 5th. Double kill for Cordiaxis. Hyper Beast Foxy nowhere to go, but under the Phoenix is healing up immensely with that death stall, but not enough lifesteal to keep them alive. They do have a Phoenix down, so they dive on through to the Titan room. There's already minions on scene. LWUB will take this game away. It was a very, very staunch defense from Hamburger, but at the end, traditional smite is traditional smite for a reason, and LWUB with the more standard draft take this first game away.
They said, Killjoy, you're from NA. You don't know what you're talking about. We don't need a fire giant to win this game. We're just going to Athena dash in and pull beads, and then Xing Chen ult in and pull more beads, and then just run at them that way. The one thing that blew my mind in that was Hyper just healing his entire health bar back in like 3 autos underneath that Phoenix. I'm like, yo, homie's got a chance here for a second, and then just got blown up by 3 other people. Because at that point, you're kind of just dead. But that fight was so weird, but really good for LWUB. I think they just knew it's like, hey, we're going to strip all these beads, and then Adu can get right back in there. Man was like 1-5 at one point in that game, I think, and then, or 1-4, and then ends 8-5-13. He was doing it all. I swear, this man, he was playing so well. The blinks, the beads, his ultimates, they were all on point. He was able to 100-0 so many people. He was healing so much in that last fight too, just getting in there, all those demons just collecting more and more health between that Warlock staff on top of the Bancross talent, just being able to get back in there. He had that upgraded glyph as well, so he was just outputting damage and healing so much back. So it was really good and well done by LWUB on that last fight just to end the game outright.
Yeah, it was a really good fight. Like I said, from Hamburger, they were trying what they could. They played their composition quite well, honestly, especially from behind. You know, it's not a composition that does too well when you're so far behind. But yeah, unfortunately, LWUB just ran them down towards the end of that game, and they couldn't stay alive through just the dive potential coming out. But that was a fantastic game number 1 of this best of 3, but we will be taking a short break, and then I believe we'll be moving on to a bit of a coaching session. Hope you guys stick around. We'll see you in just a few moments.
Smells in here. It smells. I smell Smooky. I smelled a Smooky Mars.
Oh, I thought Spooky was staying away.
I am not
join us,
going to be providing any coaching
Okay.
because I'm biased, but sick cast.
Thanks, Dad.
I say you're free to coach still. It's like you can be biased.
Absolutely not. I will favor Killjoy way too much.
He will just gas me the entire time.
I feel like you can put your feelings aside, dude. You got this.
Yeah, Spooky, let's see it. I wanna see
Killjoy's
it.
I wasn't even
Killjoy's
listening
gonna
to the
need
whole
some love
thing. I
after
just
working
came in
with
at the tail end of things.
Yeah, you're gonna shred me, Spooky. Let's go. Let's see what you got. Be mean, Spooky. I want to hear it.
Yeah, you take all the criticism, Spookaloop, and we'll handle the good stuff.
Wait, hang on now. I didn't write down any bad things.
I'm calling him Spookaloop from here on
Wow.
out. I loved that Spookaloop. Oh my god. You're never living that one down, Spooky. Enjoy.
All right, you ready to go, printers?
Oh, nice.
Oh, good
Whoops,
lord, they've been just
lol.
listening to us BSing in here. Well, before we get going too far, I'm going to drop this little link for you guys if you don't mind filling it out. Let me grab that real quick. So, for those of you who might have been following us on the So You Think You Can Cast, we got a coach in here that hasn't been seen yet. We got Deems in here. Usually it's been me and Spooky kind of tag teaming with a little bit of Majin Busha. But today we get to hear how Deems likes to go. Just dropped a link in chat. If you can fill that out, tell us what you think about the casters. But I'm going to sum up my feelings here real quick before we really let them get going. Overall, skill-wise, it was pretty on point. Very high quality casting from you both, in my opinion. Definite issues. We're going to get into those. But yeah, very, very enjoyable to listen to, in my opinion. Oh, it's dimes, not deems?
I was just
Unlucky.
I was rolling with it. Yeah, it's like the coin.
Unlucky.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell, okay, my bad.
No, I'm due for a rebrand. Nobody knows how to pronounce my name, so I'm definitely looking into that. That's not your fault at all. But thank you, Spooky, for coming in hot with the dimes. Yeah. That's why our Spooky and I's cast is Spooky Dimes, like Scary Quarters, you know?
That's awesome.
But yeah.
There you go. Well, let's leave it to our first time coach here. What you got
All right.
for him?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. First of all, for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity. This is an awesome organization and awesome thing that we've got going here. So I've never met either of these fine people. So for Killjoy and Judas, I'm Dimes. I'm a caster for the Smite Open Circuit. I work with Spooky and Frog and Alpha Jackal and all those guys over there doing the Open Circuit, like I just said. So I've got a little bit of experience. First of all, incredibly high quality cast. I came in totally blind to both of your casting ability. Awesome stuff. I loved listening. You guys had great tone. You had great voices mechanically. I really liked what I heard. And I'll blow through some of the good stuff. We're going to do a positivity sandwich, right? We'll do good stuff, bad stuff, good stuff. Make sure everybody comes out with their feelings intact. So let's start with the good stuff. Judas, on the desk, lots of analysis, which made going back and forth with Killjoy really easily, right? You weren't just bringing up a topic, handing it off. You had a little bit of analysis. You would let Killjoy chime in with his own thoughts and then bounce it back to you. Good stuff. However, when we got into the game, you held on to that mindset, right? So you would make a point as a chair one. You would then, as a chair one, analyze that point. Then action would kick off and you would have no time to throw it to Killjoy. You would just immediately dive into the action. And what this led to is you holding on to the thread of conversation for 30, 45, sometimes over a minute of just you talking. Same thing happened in team fights, right? You would team fight, instead of throwing it over to Killjoy for just a moment, for just to either catch your breath or to get a different voice in the action. You would hold on to that team fight until it ended. And what that caused is after a minute of just hearing your voice, right, your tonal quality, I'd tune out because I'm just listening to the same voice for a minute straight. So a huge thing for you to work on. In fact, my number one critique for you is allowing your chair two to have more time. Unfortunately, Killjoy didn't have just much time on the mic to strut their stuff because you were holding on to the thread for very long. That being said, the team fights were high quality, great call outs, great ability names, great energy control. I noticed that you were saying things like let the demons out and things like that, which is great colloquialisms. And then the other two things that I noticed and picked up on a lot is that you were using generalities a lot. So instead of saying Erlong Shin looping around the back of the team fight, trying to re-engage, blah, 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 you would say looking for something. They're looking for something. And that came up multiple times in multiple different team fights. And looking for something can be a great connector, right? It can connect sentences, a great segue. But when it's used repetitively, at least it's a big pet peeve for me. I pick up on it. And then you were using they a lot as well when referring to teams. So I wasn't sure which team was doing what, because you would just say they are pushing forward, they are doing the damage, etc. So using those team names is quite important. But otherwise, great energy control, great vocal control, great team fights, great stuff. Just allowing Killjoy to talk a little bit more, allowing your chair dude to have more time is my biggest critique for you. Do you have any questions about that?
No, that's cool. If I'm totally honest, it's something I'm not really sure of how to do in
Sure.
terms of actually in a team fight. How do you hand that off and hand it back? What one thing. It's not even an excuse. It's just an explanation. I would have obviously never casted with Killjoy. Maybe if we had a bit more time together, it's easier to work on things like that. But absolutely, you know, I'll take that on board. I do know I definitely have a tendency to go long in team fights. It's something I think definitely to be worked on, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to talk more about that, or share more of your thoughts, or pick my brain about how I pass off to Spooky or Frog, or however, we can definitely talk about that after. I'd be more than happy to chat with you more. And then moving on to Killjoy, dude, just so good. Really,
Thanks.
really good. I had to do a little bit of nitpicking because I had to find some critiques. So start with the good stuff. Your analysis was on point. You were calling out oddities, right? Whether it was in team fights, whether it was item builds or movement on the map. Felt like you were great pacing in terms of how you were moving through the game, right? Early game, mid game, late game. I felt like the topics that you were analyzing and talking about and bringing up were all valid at the point of the game that you were bringing them up in. So you weren't talking about a gold lead at 3 minutes, and you weren't talking about items being complete, you know, towards the end of the game. All good stuff there. So to nitpick, you were talking a bit quick at times, and the words were starting to blur together, or you would run out the end of a sentence, and instead of finishing out a sentence, you would pick up on the next sentence because you were going so quickly. So instead of finishing one thought and beginning another, you would just jump straight from thought to thought. And I know that comes from having so much knowledge and so much enthusiasm that you want to get it all out, but just work on maybe slowing down a little bit so we can understand your analysis and critiques or your thoughts. And otherwise, awesome job, good jokes. Your tone, you were so conversational. It didn't feel like you were a radio host. It felt like I was hanging out, kicking it back and watching a Smite game with you. Awesome stuff. Even though you guys don't have a ton of synergy together, or a ton of experience casting together, I should say, the synergy felt good. It didn't feel uncomfortable. It didn't feel like handoffs were really weird. There were a couple of strange handoffs, but otherwise you guys were very smooth for having relatively little experience. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more from both of you. This was a high quality cast. I was very lucky to be able to catch this one as a coach.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Spooky, you got anything?
Pookie's not in here anymore.
Oh, Spooky left. How dare
We
he?
Yeah,
we
he
scared
did.
him away.
He dipped. So I want to loop around on just a couple points. I just want to say first off, the amount of skill callouts and the colloquialisms, like, they were really, really on point. I was sitting here like, holy dang, listen to this. Like you said, because of the way that you were talking about who is who, we kind of lost the plot sometimes. Like what Dimes was saying. So it's like you were saying they're over here looking for them, and it's like, who's they? Who's them? So sometimes insert more team names. I think that'll help a lot with that. Very minor nitpick on that for me, compared to just the sheer quality that you had. And unfortunately, we weren't able to, again, just due to the handoffs, and it was a bit of the handoffs, but it was also a lot of the fact that this was a really flippin' bloody game, especially for EU, in my opinion. It was like, are we like what's Killjoy said? Are we actually watching an EU game? It was a bloodbath, start to finish. Unfortunate. While Killjoy had a lot of points, he wasn't able to kind of help direct attention to other things around the screen, in my opinion. I don't know if you can agree with that, Dimes. And it was partially again because it was such a bloodbath and you had to talk about what's going on, but it was also again just the handoff issue, in my opinion. Don't know what you have to think about that.
I agree. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I don't have much more to add.
Yeah. Um, just a tip from me. I'm sure Dimes will be able to identify this much better than I can because I can only come at you. I can only give you my thoughts based as a viewer. I am no caster by any means. Dimes, Spooky, Majin, all of them are so more specialized and way more knowledgeable than I probably will ever be on this. I think the best way to try figuring out when to hand it off is chair one. Is there actually action going on? Yes or no. If there's no action going on and chair two hasn't spoken in a while, just give him a just give him a point or just shut up and let him naturally take over. Posit a question, let chair two analyze. Because again, chair one, you're the hype man, you're the play-by-play. You achieved that wonderfully. Chair two is more of the guy who's trying to direct the audience's attention around the screen, around the play style, while there's nothing going on the screen. And chair two's made to make the audience kind of think and keep them entertained while it's boring, for lack of better words. I think that might be a way to think about it. But that's all I got on the coaching session. Is there anything you guys might have or questions might be able to answer right now?
No questions from me.
I'm tempted. I'm sort of stuck, I guess I would say, on the. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, the handing over quickly. Can you be maybe a bit more specific? Do you mean handing over from chair one to chair two, like during a fight, if it's going on long, or maybe when there's we do tend to find these pauses, and it did definitely happen in that last game. Where it's like I noticed I was doing it myself. Like I'm sort of hanging on to the call because I'm pretty sure it's going to re-engage, right? You know when a fight's like maybe done, but probably not done, and it did come back in. Is that when you're talking about the moment, or do you think it's just a general, 30 seconds of casting? Try to hand it off, if only briefly, just hand it off and hand it back, or are you finding more general spots?
Dimes?
Yeah, I would say both. Throughout, not even just in team fights, but throughout the entire cast, you were doing a lot of analysis yourself. You were hanging on. There was at one point towards the end of the game, you casted a team fight, a fire giant, a tower push, and then the next team fight. And I use a lot of milestones as ways to decide whether to hand off or not. So a milestone being a team fight, a milestone being a fire giant, a milestone being a tower push, right? So those are three different opportunities for you to hand off or to switch it back. So in the middle of a team fight, it's your responsibility to call that team fight, but that doesn't mean that it's just you calling the team fight. You have a partner, right? Utilize them. It's important to be able to pass it and then them say a sentence or two. It allows you to catch your breath and reorient on the team fight, which you didn't have any problem doing. So not saying that that's a necessity for you, but in case you do lose the thread, it allows you to do that. And B, it allows the viewer to re-engage because they're hearing a new voice, they're hearing a new perspective, right? They're hearing a new tone, energy level, etc. So even if a fight lasts an entire minute, it is not your responsibility to cast 1 minute worth of fighting, right? Find those threads to hand it over. And it could be as easy as a tone switch, right? It could be as easy as using your tone to indicate that you're reaching the end of a sentence and you're handing it off, right? So if somebody's reinitiating, right? Blah, 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 team fight, Kraken goes off, and now Nemesis is looping around the back looking for Poseidon, right? My tone looking for Poseidon, right?
Yep,
I've now just using my tone, just using the pitch of my voice, have concluded that sentence and drawn that to a close and allowed my chair two to immediately pick it up. Like you said, that's a synergy thing, right? That's becoming more comfortable with your chair two and your chair one, knowing that, okay, when my chair one uses this tone or when they approach the end of this sentence, I'm going to have a pickup there. And then they say, sentence or two, yeah, but the Poseidon still has the Aegis online, immuning the slice and dice, blah, blah, blah. Can they find the damage? A question is a great way to hand it off too. Can they find the damage? That's a question. And then the chair one picks it up. No, they cannot, as Poseidon escapes by the skin of their teeth, blah, blah, blah. So using milestones in a fight, using the tone of your voice, using questions are all ways to pass it off just to switch up the action, right? You should never realistically be talking for more than 30 seconds at a time in a team fight, 45 seconds, and even less so in the middle of a game, because you're there to posit questions, you're there to posit ideas, and then your analyst is there to fulfill those ideas, to follow through on the train of thought, right? You throw a note out, hey, it's weird they built this item first. Pass it over to your chair two. It's not your responsibility as chair one to analyze that item.
And just another point too. Killjoy said right at the start in introductions, he has experience in chair one. In this competition, you're going to be paired with people that you will have little to no practice with, and it's with good reason. I want to push you guys to the limit. I want to see how flexible you can be. I think a good caster has that in them, that they can work with anybody and just jump right in and be amazing. You have somebody who has chair one experience. And while yes, you are the primary play-by-play, you can easily have allowed Killjoy, like you heard him a couple times, just own the fight. It's like all of a sudden something started up and he had this great play-by-play that just happened. And he actually overrode you on it. You were about to spout off and he just kept going. Typically that's not how you should do. And Killjoy, in my opinion, did the right thing in that, because you had this long segment going on and this was just going to be a small skirmish. Another way to kind of think about it is, while what Dime said is right, it's like you want to have that handoff. You don't want to be talking too long to keep audience engaged. Um, Basically, when the fight breaks up, regardless of like if you're not sure it's gonna start or you're kind of sure it's gonna start, let chair two take it. That's the best way to hand off. Keep it in the main action. That's where you want to be, in the higher body counts, not just the little one-offs. Because you did a great job typically of ignoring those little one-offs and just letting Killjoy just have at it. It's like, yeah, he's gonna pick off this one. It's like 3v1. It ain't worth mentioning. Stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I did notice a couple of times. I think we handled it quite well. I remember there's a fight around the Pyromancer. I think we literally swapped chairs for a moment. But that's fine, right? You know, you want it to be that smooth transition. But yeah, thank you, Dimes, for that little explanation on team fights. That was awesome.
And just one thing, if you loop back on this video, a key time for you. Look at the fight that happened between, I think, 32 minutes and 30 seconds in. You handed it off at 33 minutes and 30 seconds perfectly. It's like that was like perfectly done on your part. One of the best transitions you had the entire match. But that's all I got to say. Before these guys get too bored, listen to us prattle on. I got one thing tomorrow. So you think you can cast moves over to Valhalla, and we'll be going at 2, 5, and 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to keep up with So You Think You Can Cast, because we're still in the first round. We got a long way to go. We're going to be going into the best of 8 and 8. Basically, after next week, we're gonna have half our contestants drop out. This is a cutthroat competition. But you can follow us by joining the official Discord, signing up to event and amateur, either one. That'll let you get pinged for various announcements I got for them. You can stay in this competition. But outside of that, got to plug Galeria. I appreciate you letting me be here. I appreciate you hosting us. Anybody in the chat, if you haven't done so already, make sure to follow them, join their Discord, get looped into their community. That way you could get notified when these guys are putting up this amazing content for you. That being said, thank you for your time, everybody.